The magic number, my dude, is 0 after watching that incredibly boring Seattle Mariners and Detroit Tigers game last night and watching the Mariners lose. That clinched home field advantage for the Toronto Blue Jays. So not sure exactly who they're going to be playing yet in the wild card series. Most likely, it looks like Seattle, the Mariners' magic number for clinching the round against the Blue Jays is 2. So any combination of 2 wins by them or 2 losses by the Rays. Of course, we're down to it. The Rays have 2 games left, and the Mariners, with that doubleheader today, have 3 games left. So in the next day or two, we should know exactly how things are lined up for these wild card series, and we'll go from there. Hello and welcome, everybody, to the walk-off. It is Mailbag Monday on a Tuesday afternoon. I'm Scott Belford, joined as always by the best co-host in the biz, Adam Mack. How you feeling, buddy? You watched that Seattle game last night too, right?
Yeah, stayed up late to get that game out of the way. We were kind of texting about this during the game. We are sure grateful for the phenomenal broadcast team we have in Toronto.
Big time. I'm not going to sit here and completely shit on the Mariners broadcast crew, but my goodness. Like, it would annoy me so much. Listen, I know that every broadcast is a homer broadcast, and why wouldn't it be? You're obviously trying to appeal to your fans, the people who are advertisers are paying to advertise to. You don't want to completely, but I want as unbiased as possible. It drives me nuts when they get too biased. But my goodness, the Mariners was just like...
You know what? Speaking of unbiased opinions, I really enjoyed Buck when Vladdy hit one off the wall and he watched it and then he chased his mistake in trying to stretch it into the double and got thrown out. And it was just like one of the worst plays I've seen Vladdy make in a long time. And it was right after Bichette had that weird base running error with his foot off the base at 2. And just to hear Buck tell it how it is, it's like, that's why we love Buck.
100%. And obviously, Buck and Tabby lean towards the Jays, just like every broadcast crew leans towards the team they're covering. They're human. But watching that Mariners broadcast, dude, they could do nothing wrong. And it was so weird to hear them not acknowledge that if they lost, they were no longer in it for home field advantage. Like that whole game, they were acting like all the Mariners need to do is win out, and they've got this thing. They didn't acknowledge that it would take the Blue Jays losing the next 2 games. They didn't acknowledge that this is an uphill battle and that most likely they're going to be playing in Toronto. It was weird to watch, and I don't really care.
You're not doing your fans a service, though, when you're misleading them, are you? Like, if you're a casual fan tuning in and you take a little bit of education out of that broadcast and you think, oh, all we got to do is win out, and then hypothetically you watch your team win out and then you're devastated when you find out you still didn't get home field advantage, like, that's not good.
I know the Mariners are going to bring it when they come to Toronto, but watching that game last night, whew.
One thing I like about the Seattle Mariners broadcast is that camera angle they do from behind the third base stands.
Yes.
It's like a panning. It kind of zooms down, and it's just kind of a cool angle that we don't get in
that we don't get.
Toronto.
It was a very
I really like that.
Every
time I watch a Mariners game, I see that angle. It's like it must be a camera on a track or something, and I don't know. It's cool.
It is a very cool camera angle, but just a boring game. I mean, the Detroit Tigers are a terrible team, and the Mariners have not been playing well lately.
No, they have not. Julio Rodriguez has been injured. I don't know how much of a factor that is.
He had a big game last night.
He's back last night, yeah. But yeah, they have been kind of limping across the finish line here. So,
whereas the Blue Jays are playing, in my opinion, the best baseball they have all season long. They look really, really good, and they look incredibly focused and determined.
Absolutely. Should we get into the mailbag, my friend?
Yes, sir. Let's do it. Of course, every single week we comb through all of our socials, so you can always feel free to reach out to us if you'd like a question or comment acknowledged in the mailbag. That is on Twitter at Walk Off Podcast, on Instagram, the Walk Off Podcast. Our Discord is always a happening place, and so if you are looking for 150 plus rabid other Blue Jays fans who are constantly talking baseball and Blue Jays, this is a great place for you to reside, is our Discord. Of course, there's a link in the show notes for that. It's always free. And a big shout out to our Patreon, which we will acknowledge all of you after the mailbag here at the end, but it is truly appreciated. Every little bit helps. And I know that all of you are very helpful in getting this computer upgrade that has allowed us to go live almost every day since we got it, which is super appreciated to you. And hopefully the extra content is a good enough payoff. So there you go. Let's get into it.
All right. First one comes in from Twitter. So at Olivia Tweets tweeted at about our interview with Ben Nicholson-Smith yesterday. Ben was great. This was very enjoyable. In brackets, you guys were fine too. Winky face.
Yes, well, thank you, Olivia. Appreciate the kind words. Ben Nicholson-Smith. Go ahead.
A lot of backhanded compliments coming our way this week.
It's good.
It's good. Yeah, it keeps us humble.
No, well, I feel like it's our listeners get that we're ball busters, and so they like to give
absolutely.
It right back, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Hey,
That's what I tell myself anyways.
Hey, we're 3 years into this show, and we've been saying since day one, you might not like Scott or I, but you've got to like our guests. We get some of the best guests around. So
we're also 2 years, 2 months, but it feels like 3 years.
I said we're in our third year.
Okay, third year. My apologies. I should not have corrected you.
All right. Third season covering the Jays. At Blue Jays My Way DM'd us on Twitter and said, how are you getting these guests? Who the F are you guys? Fair enough. Fair enough. This is a good one, too.
I don't even know how to answer that question. I don't know how we're getting them.
We are just a couple of stupid comedians from out west who know how to hustle and grind. So
I know we were talking even before we hit record that in the last 2 weeks, we've had Julia Cruz with MLB.com, Chris Black, producer for Sportsnet, John Gibbons, former manager of the Blue Jays, and Ben Nicholson-Smith.
Yeah, and that doesn't even touch the MLB roster Blue Jays we've had, the Ring of Honor level.
So
Blue
far
Jays.
Above our weight class, buddy.
We don't
it
deserve
even
it for
make
sure.
sense to me, yeah.
So there you go. Good fun there. It's funny when we had Ben Nicholson-Smith on for, I don't know, the third or fourth time. What did he say to you when you were bugging him? He says, I'll hand it to you. You guys are nothing if not persistent or something.
Yes, that's exactly. Yeah, I'd reach out once a month and he'd be like, you know what, man, I'll give you that. You stay on me.
9 times out of 10, that's the answer is I'd love to, but I can't right now. Everybody's so busy during the season. So
yeah,
looking forward to an off season full of more top-notch guests coming your way. So
the off season is our wheelhouse when it comes to our best guests. Whenever you see a high-profile guest on this show during the season, just understand how much we have bothered that person.
Yes, exactly. All right, next one comes in on Twitter as well. So Molly Loves Bo Forever says, hey guys, just wanted to send you a question for the mailbag. Do we just need Jose Berrios to pitch in the rain to be good? But seriously, why do you think his season has been so rough?
Oh, I think if we knew that, Molly, we would probably be a member of the Toronto Blue Jays analysis team. But there are a few things that have stood out to me on his stat line as to why. Number one, very good point about the rain. My goodness, Jose Berrios just with a stellar outing last night. 3 hits allowed, pitched 6 innings, gave the Blue Jays the win, and helped them clinch that home field advantage. Couldn't ask for more.
Hey, yesterday we were talking difference makers for this Blue Jays team to go deep. I think you picked Tapia, and I picked Berrios. If we can get starts like what we saw yesterday out of Berrios, that's going to make a world of difference.
You know what stood out to me, Adam, when I started going through his stats? His whip is gross this year.
Yeah.
Jose Berrios, walk, hits, innings pitched, is sitting at 1.42. My goodness, that is a lot of walks and hits to allow. Like,
yeah, 1.5 an inning.
1.5 an inning.
You're playing with fire when your whip is that high, that's for sure.
And this has been the problem with Berrios all year long, is that when he allows a guy to get on first base, he's prone to the long ball. He gives up home runs this season. And you can get away with that. We have seen, obviously, the Rogers Center is a home run friendly park, and we have watched pitchers throughout Toronto Blue Jays history give up home runs at a rate higher than average, but be okay, because they do it as solo shots. But as soon as you start to put a runner on first, a runner on second, walking a guy here, giving up a hit here, and then you're allowing these home runs, you start to feel it in the ERA, and that's exactly what has happened to Jose Berrios this year. If you look at his career whip over 8 seasons, it's 1.25. Like, he's a full 0.2 higher on that walks, hits, innings pitched. And it's hurting him. It's affecting how many runs he's giving up. His ERA this year is sitting at 5.23, which is a full run higher than his career average. It is a little concerning looking at his strikeouts this year, too, which are down. Last year, he struck out 204 batters. This year, he's sitting at 149.
Oof. That is not good.
28 years old. He's at over 1,000 innings pitched career-wise. You almost have to wonder if, even if Berrios comes back to what he was, if maybe he's just a number 3 starter. Maybe he's a number 4 starter. We're paying him a lot of money to be a number 4 starter or number 3 starter. However, if you're just hoping for and Adam and I talk about this all the time, the back of the baseball theory. That once you hit a certain point in your career, you're pretty good to turn that baseball card around, look at the career average, and that's probably what you're after for a season. And yeah, this season's been an outlier for Jose Berrios.
Yeah,
but
well,
how much do you expect that correction to be? Like, honestly, Adam, how much do you expect the correction to be? 28 years old, 1,000 innings pitched.
I don't know. You look at a lot of pitchers. They're almost never good their entire career. So I'm hoping that's all this is. I'm hoping, like you mentioned, the whip being a full 0.2 higher than it has been in the past. The strikeouts are like way lower than they have been.
Like 30%.
25%. 30%
yeah.
Low. So I don't know what's bugging him. Something's off. I don't think this is I have to have faith in this front office trading for him and getting it right. I don't know.
He's been healthy. 172 innings pitched this season. 12-7 record. He has had a substantial amount of quality starts.
It's just when he's off, he's way off.
And you don't know when it's coming.
No, I know that's the weird thing with him is there's no rhyme or reason to the home and away splits or anything like that. Yeah, I don't know what to say with Berrios. I'm not worried about him long term still. Like, the life of this contract, I still think is going to be, I think we're going to be happy with it. It's too bad he didn't pitch really well this year.
This is kind of his mulligan season.
Yeah.
How much more rope do you give him? I mean, obviously they can't do anything with this contract. You're kind of, Jose Berrios is your guy. This is the decision that they made in the offseason. And it's still, like you said, man, could very well work out.
Are you worried about it long term?
I'm a little concerned long term. Yeah. I'm honestly not concerned so much about, will Jose Berrios be this guy for the rest of the contract? I don't think he will be. But I am kind of concerned that maybe his career average is the best we can hope for. Maybe Jose Berrios is a 4.25 ERA guy who's going to get 200 strikeouts, but also going to give up walks, going to give up hits, and is going to be a guy that slots in as that number 3 or 4 guy in a rotation. I am a little concerned with that, because if that is the case, it does handcuff the Blue Jays a little bit with how much money they can spend on this rotation moving forward.
Samuel in the live chat's asking, how long is the contract again? It is 5 years with a player opt-out after 5, and then 2 more?
He's got another 4 years after this season with a player opt-out, and 2 more years after that. And the 2 years after that are backloaded. So I think it's $28 million a season for those 2 final years. So if what we're talking about and what I'm concerned about is that his career average is actually the pitcher he is at 28 years old, that
$28 million for a 35-year-old on the back end of his career, that could be ugly.
Exactly. And dang well, and you know darn well he's going to take that option if he is the guy he might be, right? The career average guy.
All right, that's a bummer. We're still going to see him again this year. I mean, God willing, he'll be starting for us in the playoffs, right?
Put an asterisk next to everything I just said, buddy. I would love nothing more than to eat my words next season. I would love for people to be taking this video, putting it in the comments when we're talking about how great Jose Berrios has been for the team, which people have loved to do with us.
People do love to dig up old hot takes and throw them in our faces. All right, Northern Grower.
Probably deservedly so.
Northern Grower in the chat says, is Berrios a starting pitcher in the playoffs? Probably not in the wild card series, but almost certainly throughout the playoffs.
You need 4 starters once you get out of this wild card series, and there is no dang way we see Mitch White or Yusei Kikuchi. There's no other options. Jose Berrios is the guy.
He's the guy. Which also means he's not a bullpen option, right? We kind of talked about this yesterday. He's not going to piggyback with Stripling or anything like that. Even the idea of Stripling coming out of the bullpen to back up Jose Berrios, we can't do that, right? Whoever doesn't get the start in game 3, we need to start in game 1 against the Astros.
So game 3, I think all bets are off. If this wild card series goes to game 3, I think absolutely they're starting most likely Ross Stripling.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about this ad nauseum. Stripling could be the number 2 starter in this series,
sure.
especially if Kevin Gausman's finger is bugging him a little bit. They might give him an extra day and bump him to that number 3 spot, which also would allow, and we've talked about this too, would allow the Blue Jays, if for some crazy reason they manage to pull off a sweep against whoever they're playing, it does line up Kevin Gausman to pitch game 1 and game 5 of an ALDS, which I think is the best case scenario for the Blue Jays. So we may watch Ross Stripling line up in that number 2 game of the wild card series, but we'll need to wait and see. Obviously, this is all speculation at this point.
Game 1 goes Friday. Friday,
yes,
Saturday, Sunday. That is, I guess all 4 wild card series are happening at the same time, right?
Monday could be such a celebration or just such a frickin' day we don't even want to frickin' turn our mics on, you know?
Yep. I know exactly what you mean. We have definitely had those episodes before, and I'm not ready for another one just yet.
It is wild to think how long the baseball season is, and that over the weekend, all of our hopes and dreams rely like Blue Jays Nation relies on a 3-day span, Friday to Sunday, less than 72 hours, as to whether we're all.
I feel good. I feel good in this wild card series. I think we're going to get the Mariners. The Mariners are not setting the world on fire the way they were a month ago. I mean, they had one of the softest schedules of all these wild card teams in the back half of September, and they've lost more games than they won.
Yes.
So we kind of expected them to run away with home field advantage. They have not been able to do so. Blue Jays, on the other hand, are firing right now. So that's good. I feel good about this matchup, especially in Toronto. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Do you think we get an early game? We don't know the times of these games yet.
I mean, if there's anything that MLB likes to do, it is to deal a bum hand to the Canadian team. So it is possible. However, I don't know if they're going to start Friday with the Blue Jays Mariners game being the Mariners are a West Coast team, because if they do give the Jays the noon start Eastern, that works to 9 a.m. in Seattle.
It's a sick day. No one's going to work.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll wait and see. But yeah, if I was to bet on a bad time being given to the Blue Jays, I would take the over. The more likely.
More likely. It's going to be a fun weekend of watching baseball. That's for sure. All right. Next one comes in from Forbesy Jr. in the Discord. Posted a tweet from a friend of the show, Shai Davidi, that said, Alek Manoah is voted AL Pitcher of the Month after posting an ERA of 0.88, which is a single-month club record, in 41 innings, allowing 23 hits and 12 walks with 33 strikeouts. And then Forbesy added, I knew he had a good month, but I didn't realize he was that good. He almost struck out as many batters as he allowed to reach base.
It's insane.
Speaking of firing on all cylinders, man, Alek Manoah. What else is there to say? He's been a horse. He's been big game Alek. I'm so happy with the season out of him.
I wonder how much they ride this kid. Like, here's a question for you. Let's say Alek Manoah goes into game 1 of the wild card series and does what he's done all September. Pitches 7 innings to a 0.88 ERA. So allows 1 run, let's say, in 7. Which technically his ERA is even less than that, which is absolutely mind-blowing. So let's say he does that and gets the win. And let's say the Blue Jays wind up getting past, let's call it the Mariners. It looks like the most likely scenario.
Sure.
Let's say they do it in 2 games.
Okay.
Do you roll with, and let's say Kevin Gausman does get that game 2 start.
Mm-hmm.
I know I have just set up all sorts of scenarios here that could go another way.
Of course.
Would you like to see Ross Stripling go game 1? Or would you pitch Alek Manoah on a day less rest, short rest, in game 1 to line him up for game 5 if they need him?
I know what you're saying here. So if we look at the schedule, let's just have fun with it. Let's do the old screen share trick. Let's see if we can get this to work. So I got the wild card series schedule pulled up. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Monday is an off day. No baseball games.
Mm-hmm.
ALDS starts Tuesday. So Alek Manoah, you're saying pitch Friday. Get Saturday, Sunday, Monday off. Pitch Tuesday. So 3 days rest as opposed to the standard 4. I don't like that for a couple reasons. Fair. I don't know about pitching Alek Manoah on short rest against Justin Verlander. Because we're going to see Justin Verlander in game 1. Again, putting the cart before the horse, I get it. We got to get past the Mariners. Let's just put all that
not an easy task,
aside.
by
Not
the way,
easy.
with their
I'm acknowledging
Gilbert,
that.
Castillo, and yes,
I'm acknowledging that, okay? But let's play it out. So game 1, we got Justin Verlander. I almost, even if it wasn't on short rest, we were speculating with the John Schneider comments about Alek Manoah pitching tomorrow, I guess Wednesday, game 162, and potentially missing the wild card series, and how that lines him up for game 1 and game 5 in the ALDS. I don't know if I like the idea of wasting an Alek Manoah outing just to lose 1-0 to the Astros and Justin Verlander. You know what I mean?
Win 1-0. I mean, do you against the Astros? Would you like your best pitcher to pitch 2 games? Have you thrown anything at Alek Manoah he hasn't been able to deal with yet?
No.
I lean you pitch him on short rest.
Oh.
Listen, I get the concern. But even if he does lose game 1, he still lines up again for game 5.
Oof. Man, I don't like this, Scott. I don't like this line of questioning here. What I like is not doing that.
Yes.
Losing to Verlander game 1, maybe stealing it with a Jose Berrios appearance. I don't know. But I like to win 2, 3, and 4 and then not see Verlander again in game 5.
Sure.
Just get an extra. Can we just write that into the script?
Sure. In this magical scenario, we only see Justin Verlander 1 time.
There are, looks like, 2 off days in the ALDS. So
you absolutely can pitch your game 1 pitcher in game 5.
Tuesday, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm not good at math in my head when I'm looking at a calendar. This calendar is just a list of dates. It's not an actual calendar, so I'm struggling here. If whoever your game 1 starter is could pitch game 5, no problem. Could probably pitch game 4. You could pitch game 4, and that wouldn't be short rest if you pitch game 1. I don't know.
Because if you did go short rest for Alek Manoah on game 1, and then you go Stripling, Gausman, Manoah again, you can put Stripling in at game 5, and you can skip Jose Berrios altogether. And then you don't even need him until the ALCS.
Ugh.
Have him in the bullpen ready to go to eat innings if somebody has a hiccup. Anyways, these decisions are meant for smarter people. Obviously,
definitely meant for smarter people than us.
Yeah, and the Blue Jays management has got this, but it is going to be really interesting to see how they play this because there are options out there, and if they would like to get Manoah out on that mound as many times as they can, I think we're going to watch some interesting things happen.
Absolutely. All right. Next one then. We got 2 more to get to today. Scott Carter says, Mailbag. Is it realistic that Gabriel Moreno might move to another position during the offseason? And Sponge, great username, responded to that comment and said, emergency situation only, crazy athlete, but Blue Jays have multiple defensive replacements. So unless he has to pinch hit for someone or one of them in extras, I don't see any non-injury situation that he plays anything but catcher. What are your thoughts?
I mean, this catcher scenario is going to be it has been the talk of the season. Danny Jansen and Alejandro Kirk, I think their numbers are number 2 in all of baseball for offensive output by a catching tandem. They both are far above average when you look at their weighted runs created plus. They both are putting up massive OPS numbers. Their slugging percentage is way above average when it comes to catchers. Alejandro Kirk flirting with 300 average almost all season long. I think he's still batting 293 or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but it's right in that zone. Danny Jansen, 15 home runs and has played about half of the season. Gabriel Moreno, the number 5 prospect in all of baseball, the number 1 prospect in this Blue Jays organization. There are some decisions to be made this offseason, and I think it's going to really depend on what Mark Shapiro and Ross Atkins decide as to who is the number 1 catcher. Honestly, if they decide that Danny Jansen is the guy they're going with, we could see some wild things happen. We could see both Moreno and Kirk moved in the offseason. Don't put it past this front office to move 2 catchers. It is their biggest strength with this team. And we're going to need to wait and see how deep they go into the playoffs. But there are some areas of need that are going to need to be addressed in the offseason, starting pitching being number 1, especially with Ross Stripling being a free agent. So if you're not going to make a huge splash in free agency, which maybe the Jays aren't, they do have some mega contracts already on the books. Maybe they're looking for some cost efficiency, which would come from trade. And again, who doesn't want an athlete like Gabriel Moreno or a proven commodity like Alejandro Kirk? I think there are 15 to 20 teams that would be lined up to talk to the Blue Jays about acquiring one of those 2 guys.
Yeah, I'm with you there. As far as this particular comment goes and the idea of moving Moreno to another position, I don't agree with the sponge take that it would be an emergency injury situation. I don't see it as being, we have a need at another spot and let's get Kirk in there. Let's get Moreno in there. like you said, we just have an abundance at the catching position. So if we get, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, the scenario we just gave where they move 2 catchers, they could move none of them. And if that's the case, I think it is a very real situation where we could see Gaby move into a third base scenario, or we saw him taking some outfield reps in left field and center field. Look, positional versatility is hard. All right?
Yes. Positional versatility is hard. I think this offseason is just a case of the Blue Jays field phone calls on everybody. I mean, everybody in the catching position. I think you listen to offers on Danny, on Kirk, on Moreno, and you just decide what could we get the best return on. Would it shock me if Danny Jansen was the one who was moved? I would be a little bit shocked, to be completely honest. I think just the return in a trade is the lowest on Danny Jansen. I also don't know how comfortable I am with, in the middle of a playoff window, going with Alejandro Kirk and Gabriel Moreno with minimal MLB experience. I don't even like the idea really of Gabriel Moreno coming in the playoffs. I'm not sure where you put him in the game. Is he on the playoff roster?
It's a really good question, man.
Do you feel comfortable? I mean, here's the hypothetical, right? Is Alejandro Kirk is catching, gets pinch run for in the 7th inning when we need to have a guy who can go first to third or whatever the case may be.
Which is Gabriel Moreno.
Right? And now all of a sudden, Danny Jansen's the DH. Moreno's into pinch run, and now he's catching the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings of Game 3 of the wild card series. That makes me cringe to think about that. That's the question
for Blue Jays fans. It is. Are you comfortable with Gabriel Moreno catching in the 8th or 9th inning of a playoff game. And I mean, it will always forever stand out to me talking to Joe Siddle and him bringing up how long it takes to be a good catcher in the major leagues. And that it's literally experience. It's the one position where youth and athleticism isn't going to push you over the top. And so we have waited these 5 years since 2018 when Danny Jansen made his MLB debut for him to get to where he's at right now and be able to call an experienced game, to run the starting staff like he has and the pitching staff like he has. And I mean, you look at Alejandro Kirk. Alejandro Kirk's framing has been incredible. In fact, he's the only catcher in all of baseball who went from a negative last year to being a top 10 framer in the league. Like, it's pretty incredible. The shadow area, they call it, which is the area around the square, right? That is just, is it a strike? It isn't a strike. It's stealing strikes. So the shadow area was one of Alejandro Kirk's downfalls last season and is a definite positive this year. He is the best framer on this team. Is that something we're going to concern ourselves with as we watch it become more and more apparent that robo-umps are coming for 2024? I don't know.
Alejandro Kirk hit .315 in AAA this year. Do you know what he hit at the major league level in 23 games with the Blue Jays?
Are you talking Moreno right now?
Sorry. Yes, Moreno.
Yeah, okay.
Moreno hit .315 in AAA, played 23 games with the Blue Jays, 65 plate appearances. Do you know what he hit with the Blue Jays?
285?
290.
290? Pretty good.
He's played out his minor league career, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, there's not a lot of growth for him.
We can't just keep him in AAA in 2023 and go, well, just keep developing, kid.
Boy, we've sure done a great job, Adam, of taking these questions and then giving more questions.
Well, I mean, this is the argument, right? Of like, do we see him in an alternate position? I don't know. I go back to you answer phone calls on all three catchers from 29 other teams. You see what the best offer is. Hopefully a pitcher and a competent one is part of that package. And if you don't, I think you don't move one just for the sake of moving one, right? You don't go, well, we got a log jam. Let's just get rid of Moreno for a middling bullpen arm or whatever. Mm-hmm. But then what do you do? For me, it's you've got to try him. Maybe you put him back in AAA, but as a third baseman.
Yeah.
Right? You go, hey, you're a full-time third baseman in AAA this year, and we'll call you up, and you can play behind Matt Chapman and hang out with him. I don't know. It's
it'll be interesting to see what happens, man. There's some big-time decisions when it comes to this catching position.
What is your and then we can move on from this and talk Bichette. But what is your confidence level in Alejandro Kirk to do what he did this year or take a step forward? Like, here's your three options. Repeat, progress, or regress. What do you think what's your gut telling you?
My gut tells me he regresses a little bit offensively, but not in any substantial way. I think it's going to be very comparable to what we've seen this season, and I think he probably continues to take steps forward when it comes to the defensive side of the game. What about you, man? Where are you at?
I'm so worried about him.
Yeah?
I don't know. I'm worried about him taking a step back, a significant one. I just don't think he hits. What did he do this year? He hit 300 for most of the season. His batting average currently is at 286. So just like since the All-Star game.
I believe in Alejandro Kirk, man.
I love Alejandro Kirk too. I want to believe in him. I just, for some reason, my gut is telling me not to. I don't know. What are his stats since the All-Star game? Let's just have a quick look. He's batting 249 since the All-Star game. Mm-hmm. That's not bad.
No, it's not bad.
But it's not
And
the 305 that he was, or 319 he was hitting going into the All-Star game.
if it's super easy to just check his September numbers, would you
Yeah,
mind
let's do
doing
that.
that
You
really
bet.
quickly? Because he seems to be a little bit more on the ball in the last little bit of the season.
All right, so September to yesterday, batting average 247, slugging 303, OPS 647.
Okay, so yeah, below average, I guess. Right around average.
13 walks to 10 strikeouts. That's good.
Yeah.
2 doubles, 1 home run. I don't know.
Putting in good at bats. He puts in good at bats. If nothing else, you can say he's not up there swinging and getting in ugly strikeouts. And
okay, I'm gonna get way off topic here for a second, but I promise it all relates. I was watching Impractical Jokers with my daughter last night before bed.
Yeah.
And there was a line in that show where like one of the people said something about, oh, you could find the beauty in anything. And the response to it was, that's something that ugly people say. And that's just the feeling I get when you say he's putting in good at bats. It's just like, okay, but we're not seeing the results.
Yeah.
So
tell us about his barrel rate.
Exactly, right? No, I don't know. Alejandro Kirk, like, just the way he's built, like maybe this is just a wear and tear that we're going to see, where next year he's fresh and he's going to start the season good. And the grind of 162 is just too much. I don't know. I'm concerned. I hope I'm wrong. I will be the first to admit it. I am an idiot. But speaking as a fellow big boy, I'm concerned about his
Your
whatever.
knees are sore.
My knees are sore just watching him run. I wish him all the best, and I really hope there's no regression. But heck of a catcher. Great to see him on the team. He's a phenomenal hitter. I
All right.
don't know what else to say without having Alek Manoah blow me up. So
yes.
All right. Next one then comes in from Anonymous. Bo is not a shortstop. Please just get a compatible shortstop who won't commit 15 to 20 errors a season. Move Espinal and Bichette to get that done. Not a lot of love here. What are your thoughts on Bo Bichette in general? Do you think he's a shortstop 5 years from now with the Blue Jays?
So Bo Bichette is incredibly durable. Let's start with some of the positives with Bo Bichette. He's played 158 games at shortstop this season. That is incredibly valuable. He's probably going to get a day off today and tomorrow, or one of those 2 days. But if you can have a shortstop who is pushing 160 games at the position, I mean, the value in that is such an intangible. And Bo plays. He's out there. He's had a September that puts him as a top 5 offensive shortstop for the month. And truly, he put up such great numbers in September that he's a top 10 offensive shortstop in the entire league for the 2022 season. Listen, he's got a 289 average. He's got 24 home runs, 48 doubles. The guy hits the ball all over the field. He's a run producer. Yep. 93 RBIs. I don't think that we need to argue the offensive side of Bo Bichette. And I get what Anonymous is saying when it comes to his defensive numbers, because they're not great. You look at outs above average, he's at negative 16. That's big. That hurts. His defensive runs saved, so DRS, which is another defensive metric, he's at negative 5. Just to compare him to a guy who has comparable offensive numbers, take a look at Dansby Swanson in the National League with the Atlanta Braves. Okay, now
Right.
Dansby Swanson is 28 years old. He's got a little bit of age on him. He's a little bit more experienced, but outs above average, Dansby Swanson is putting up 20 in comparison to Bo Bichette's negative 16. That is a lot. That's a 36 outs above average difference, and that hurts. His defensive runs saved are +7, and Dansby Swanson has 25 home runs, and he's putting up a bunch of RBIs and is a run producer in that Atlanta offense. All of this to say, no, I still think that Bo Bichette is probably the shortstop of the future for this team. One thing to keep in mind with these defensive metrics is that because Bo Bichette is so rangy and because he does get to so many balls, and yes, he's airmailing some of them, and he's probably throwing balls that he should, once he gets to them, should just hold on to them. I think that's something that will come with age, right? Like, I know we bring this up all the time, and Baltimore fans just get so upset about it, but he is younger than Adley Rutschman, who is a top contender for Rookie of the Year. I don't know, man. I don't think that him moving to second base is the be-all, end-all. Will it solve some problems? Yes, but who are they going to play at shortstop? If the Jays go out and have the opportunity to get a high-end shortstop, I think that they are at the point where they would consider moving Bo, especially if they feel Bo's not going to sign an extension, right? So, like, if you're not 100% worried about the relationship there, maybe we do see him moved. I really don't. I think the emphasis on the detriment he is at shortstop is a little overblown, especially with how much offensive output he brings at that position. But we'll need to wait and see. Like, do you feel strongly one way or the other? Like, do you think it's time to move Bo from shortstop? I know we have both had those moments throughout the season where we're like, that's it, kind of throw our hands in the air, move him to second.
Mm-hmm. Man, I keep going back and forth on this. Like, shortstop is just so hard to play well. Like,
it is.
It's really easy to. Here's the thing with like stats is some stats don't tell the whole story, and some defensive metrics tell too much of the story.
Yes.
Right? Like, it's really easy to just look at a list of MLB error leaders and see Bo Bichette right up at the top of it and go, yeah, he stinks. Right? And to tell, what does he have? 23 errors on the season or something like this?
Yeah, he's I think there's a couple shortstops who have made more mistakes, but not many.
So, I mean, you and I are both kind of working on our playoff rankings for MLB position players of who's left in the playoffs. I'm looking at this list of shortstops, and there's not too many I'd rather have. Like, on a straight across trade, there's only maybe 2 or 3. Like, add Carlos Correa to the list.
Mm-hmm.
He's not on a playoff team, but add him.
I mean, if you
other than that,
playoff,
I don't know what to say about moving Bo Bichette to second base. Like, it's
like if you look at the playoff shortstops, right, which is Isaiah Kinner-Falefa, Bo's way better than he is. You look at Jeremy Pena, who's having a heck of a rookie season with Houston and had massive shoes to fill with Carlos Correa. His offensive output doesn't even come close to Bichette's, although he is a league average defender, which is pretty impressive for a rookie. So his defense is a little bit better, but I think I'd still rather Bo Bichette than Jeremy Pena at shortstop at this point.
Jeremy Pena, by the way, 29 errors, Bo Bichette 23. So
he's making errors as well, although if you look at his outs above average and his defensive runs saved, they are much better than Bo's. That said, the kid is a rookie and he is going to make errors. Wander Franco, kind of in the same boat, right? Like, he's a rangy guy. He makes a lot of plays. He's got, he's a little below average when it comes to defensive runs saved and outs above average. And he's putting up some errors as well. He's only had 300 at-bats this year with a little bit of injury troubles throughout the season. So Jeremy Pena and Wander Franco are probably the two guys that compete most with Bo out of the playoff shortstops, and I would rather Bo than both of them right now in this season, 2022. I'm not saying that Wander Franco couldn't be a better shortstop. He's still 21 years old, everybody. So let's, we talk about how young Bo is, but Wander is still just a kid. The Mariners, J.P. Crawford, like, blah.
Yeah, blah.
Cleveland with Ahmed Rosario, he's had a good season, but he's about as mid as they come. He does everything quite well, but he's not mind-blowing defensively, and offensively, he's fine, A little bit of pop. He runs the bases well. I'd still rather Bo Bichette. So if you go down all of these playoff shortstops and Bo Bichette's still coming out as the guy you want the most, I don't know what to say, right?
I mean, yeah, it's just we're talking about Bo Bichette as a easily top 10 shortstop in the league, right?
I would say so, yeah. Out of the 30 teams, he's going to rank top 10 on most people's lists. Even people who don't like him are probably going to put him in top 10.
So, to say, would we rather have the number one short? Would we rather have Trey Turner? Yeah, of course. But would I also rather have Justin Verlander than Jose Berrios? Yeah, you bet. But there's only so many moves that are possible to be made, I guess, is the frustrating part with this is he's our guy. He's our best option at shortstop right now. To just say, move him. Okay, but for what? There isn't just an abundance of shortstops on a shortstop tree that you can just pick off and go, oh, this one's ripe, plug them in, right? So, I don't know. Carlos Correa is a free agent this year. If the Blue Jays really want to spend a buttload of money, that's the answer, I guess, is go get Carlos Correa. But short of that, Bo's our shortstop moving forward, I would say.
I would say you are correct. Let's wrap it up there.
Let's wrap it up there. Okay, mailbag in the books.
Big thank you to everyone who has stuck with us for this whole episode. If you are still watching, obviously hit that subscribe button. It means a lot. Any likes and comments are greatly appreciated. A big tip of the hat to everyone in Patreon. I know I'm throwing you on the spot here, Adam, but do you have the list of
I have the list.
Valuable Patreon?
I have the list of our Shohei Ohtani nominees. Patreon.com/The Walk-Off Podcast. Big shout out to Kyle, Joey, Patrick, Wyatt, John, Dunedin, Bob, Michael, Sarah, John, Rashid, Joshua, Jeremy, and Ian. Thank you for supporting the show and helping us keep the lights on over here and keep the content coming. So big appreciation. There you go. We did it. Tomorrow we have our betting show.
Yes.
Not betting advice, but we do have a gambling themed topic. So we're going to talk playoff brackets. We're going to, I guess, run down our predictions for the MLB postseason. And then we're going to get to, after that, we're going to have our prepared MLB rankings for the infield positions. And then I think Thursday we're doing outfield and pitching. And then, we'll be busy this week. Lots of content coming out. So, okay.
Awesome.
Catch you on the next one.
Take care. Cheers, gang.